In this video, we'll be looking at how we can style up our logging form using CSS. So here's what our form looks like. It's quite plain. And this HTML file is actually linked to our style.css. So let's go ahead and style it right from scratch. I'm going to start off by setting the font family to Arial. And in case Arial is not available, we can use the sans serif that is available, that should be available on the system. So let's refresh. So the font has changed to Arial. Now, the other thing that we want to style is our field set. So let's copy this and put it in here. Now for the field set, we want to give it a border color. And a border, we'll set our border to 2 pixels and make the line of the border solid. And let's choose a color for our border. I'm not sure what, I was thinking about this color, maybe like something greenish or probably bluish, depending on what you have. So if I say I went with this color, I'm gonna copy the hex code and put it in here. So now we've got that sort of turquoise color. All right, for our border. Now let's also make the corners round, basically give it that curvy corners using border radius. And let's set the roundiness to 5 pixels. So you can see how this is kind of gone slightly roundy. Let's also apply some padding, internal padding to our field set, say 20 pixels. So now we've got 20 pixels from each side of our field set, from top, right, bottom, and left. Let's also give some margin to the top, specify the margin from the top. Top, and say 20 pixels also. All right, so that's giving us some space from the top. Let's specify the width of our field set to be 30% of its containing elements width. So that's gone down to 30% for the width of our field set. What we want to do is also include the size of the padding and the border with our 30% width. So to do that, we set our box sizing style to border box. So what this will do is it will include the elements border and padding, and so the content area width is adjusted accordingly. So the box module is usually helpful when you want to control the overall dimensions of an element while including the border and the padding in the defined width, which we specified as 30%. All right, let's go ahead and style our legend. So let's copy that and all right. Now for the legend, we'd like to set the font weight to bold and and probably give it that font color, something similar to what we've got for our form. So that's looking like this. We might also want to give our background or a form some sort of a background. Field set, that background, a sort of a light shade there, just to sort of make our form stand out a little bit more. So something like this. All right, now back to our color, let's center align our legend. Now the centering is not really happening. So I've noted that this is, in Chrome, this would actually be centered, but a common practice to sort of center elements out is to set the top and the bottom margins to 0. So margin set top and bottom to 0, and set the right and left margins to auto to actually automatically or horizontally center out the element that we're trying to center out. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for our legend. Let's now style up our labels. So I've got only 2 labels, the username and the password. So let's specify that we want to style our labels. Now for the font color, I would like that same color we put in for the legend, or the border color. So it's looking like this. Probably I'll probably look for a darker shade. So initially, yeah, maybe that, probably something slightly darker than what we've got, which to give us a better contrast basically. And let's set this to also be bold. So, and let's refresh. And what other thing we can actually put? Probably put the display on its own line on a block level. So that will give us more space, and let's give it some spacing from the bottom. 5 pixels should be all right. Okay. Now this is the original size of my browser window, so it more looks like this. And I'm thinking the color for the legend should also probably be the same color as my labels to give it a bit of a darker tone. All right, so that's pretty much it for our label. Now let's look at how we can style up those input boxes. So let's go a little bit down here and say for the input, and here for specifically for the attributes, for the type attributes, and specifically we're looking at the text input fields and the, what was the other one? The password. So we'll look at password. Okay, and now we'll open up our style and close it. Now for the width, let's set the width to 100% to sort of make it fill the horizontal, the entire horizontal. Sorry, let me just close it off with a semicolon. Yeah, so this will sort of make it fit or fill the available horizontal space. And what else we can do? We can add some padding. Now for the padding, let's add 10 pixels inside the text field to give us more space between the text and the border. Let's also add a margin top. We'll give it 5 pixels, so that will sort of give us spaces between the elements and the content above them. Let's also give it a border color. Let's say 1 pixel, solid, and let's use the same color we've used for our field set. So you can see that the color has now changed. Another thing that we can do is make the borders slightly curvy, something similar to what we did for our field set. Maybe 4 pixels should be enough. So that gives us that sort of that roundy look over here. And let's also include, because this doesn't fit really nicely, let's include the padding and the border with our specified width. So now they fit much better. Okay. I guess that should be all right. So you feel free to add up or, you know, remove what you like, or, you know, experiment with how things look like. Now what we want is when the user goes in the focus mode, we can actually control what happens there. So I'm gonna copy this, and I might not need actually all of this, but I'm just gonna specify that in the focus state. So that means when the user clicks or interacts with these input fields, we would like, say, the border color. So we'd like to change the border color because the default is not really nice. And I'm gonna get that same color that we've used for our field set. Okay, now it's still giving me the default color, so now I'm gonna remove the outline that's been given to me by default to none. So now it's okay, so I should give it a different color. Let me find something a bit more, maybe that's not the best contrast there, but I just want to sort of see the difference there. It might not really be a nice green. I might consider something probably a little bit more matching. Maybe something darker or lighter. I don't know. Yeah, so I'll leave the design part for you. But no, that's not a good thing. Hold on a second. Yeah, that's probably slightly reasonable. So I'll leave it to you to sort of make things look better. Now let's style up our submit button. Now let's specify that we are styling up our submit button. And let's put it in its own block. And let's set the width to, say, 50%. 50%. Let's just save that. Now this will be 50% of its containing element width. So let me just sort of bring this to its natural size. Okay, let's add some padding to our button. Say 10 pixels would be reasonable. So this will add 10 pixels from each side, and it will sort of give us space between the button's text and button border. Let's also add a background color. Now for the background color, I think I'll go for that darker one here that we've got here. And let's save. So now we've got that dark color, but let's change the color of the font to white. So that's the code for white, so that the contrast looks better. Let's also make it bold. Right, and let's make the corners also slightly curvy, so border radius. So we've got that roundier color. Let's also give it a border 2 pixels, say, and solid. And for the color of the border, I might use probably the same color that I've used for the input labels. Maybe that. So that will show up a bit. Yeah, so it's looking reasonable. We still got more fixing to do. Let's put it in the middle. Let's set the margin from top and bottom to 0 and from right and left to automatic. So now it's in the middle. Let's set this like that. So I'm just checking if I can think of more things to add. So we've got a background color. Oh, what we can also do is set the cursor to look like a pointer when we try to click the button. So now it looks like a pointer, like a hand pointing to it. All right, so that's pretty much it for our, yeah, I mean, like that's an example of how we can style up a button. But what we can also do is when we hover the mouse, we can also change the look of it. So in the hover state, we can say that we can inverse or sort of reverse these colors. So the background color can be white and the font color can be that greenish bluish color. So now it's looking sort of more, we've got more emphasis on it. Yeah, so that's pretty much it on how we can style up our form. I feel like it's not looking very perfect. Maybe you want to give it a bigger width and play around with things. Maybe I think that looks slightly better, but it's up to you on how your design works. But that's pretty much a starting point, or at least how you can style things up using CSS only. And I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the future videos. Thank you.